Welcome to Study Loop.
Okay, question 5. Explain why the following statements are false. So all of these 4 statements are false, and we have to know why they are not true. Okay, question A. Question A, the statement is saying that the aggregate demand curve slopes downward because it is the horizontal sum of the demand curves for individual goods. Well, it is true that the aggregate demand curve is the sum of the demand curve for individual goods. It is true, but the reason that it slopes downward is not because of it. It is because the law of demand. Because we know that for every individual, for every individual consumer, the more the cheaper the price, the cheaper the good is, the more they can buy, right? So if the product is very expensive, people can only buy a few. But if the product is super cheap, they can buy a lot. So this is called a law of demand. So this is just the main reason why the aggregate demand curve is downward sloping. It does not, the reason is not because it is the sum of other individuals' demand, because that is just the definition. But the reason why it is downward sloping is because of the law of demand. Okay, question B. The long run aggregate supply curve is vertical. Yes, this is true. It is vertical. And because economic forces do not affect long run aggregate supply. So that is where this statement is false. Because we know that the long run aggregate supply is vertical, right? It is vertical because long run aggregate supply, because price level long run aggregate supply does not have any effect on it. It is not because that, as the question B says, that it is not because economic forces do not affect long-run aggregate supply. We can just simply come up with a counter example, because the technological changes, it is actually going to change the long-run aggregate supply. For example, if we have a huge technology revolution, we can produce more output. This long-run aggregate supply is going to shift to the right? So this is one of the facts that will change this curve. So, in conclusion, it is vertical because it is not related to price, not because the reason it says. Okay, question C. If firms adjusted their prices every day, then the short-run aggregate supply curve would be horizontal. No, it would be vertical, like this, like the long-run aggregate supply. So the reason that the short-run aggregate supply is upward sloping is because we have the sticky price and sticky wage economy. So as the statement of this question says, if we can adjust the price every day, every moment, this curve is going to be vertical, just like the long-run aggregate supply. So we have to change the last word, horizontal, into vertical to make this statement correct. Okay, question D. Whenever the economy enters a recession, its long-run aggregate supply curve, which is the vertical curve here, shifts to the left. Is it true? Well, no, it is false, because we have to change the long run into short run. Why is that? Because in this statement, it does not define the length of the recession. What if it is just a small recession? If recession is so short, the long run aggregate supply actually would not shift to the right. Only the short run would shift, and then the economy would adjust to its original level. So then the long run aggregate supply curve doesn't shift. The only causes of the shipment in this curve is, as I have explained in question B here, the technological changes. All right, so in conclusion, all of these four statements are wrong, and we have to have the concept that the aggregate supply curve in the short run is upward sloping, but in the long run it is vertical because it is not related to price level.